Hello you plonkers and welcome back today to another video on the Drewzy channel. God, it's felt like a while since I've done that, ladies and gentlemen. I had last week off after my 21st birthday, so that was great fun that night. Thank you to everyone who wished me a happy birthday, but I just needed to take a bit of a week off. Just got some life stuff going on at the moment, which is why I haven't been very consistent on the channel, but I hope from this point forward I will be more consistent and hopefully better than I have been ever before. But anyhow, you're here to hear the 9 things that we've learned from round 17 of the season. So if you do enjoy these sorts of videos, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Comment down below the 9 things that you learned from this round. Let's get into the video. Number 1, Geelong could win the flag. I got humbled a couple weeks ago on my 9 things and my Drew Footy show as well by people in the comments saying, Drewzy, you're a bit of a hater sometimes, and I took that on to heart. Is that the right saying? I took it on board is what I'm trying to say, because I thought, yeah, you know what, I probably was a bit harsh on West Coast and Geelong a couple of weeks ago, so my apologies for that. I'll try to be less biased. But after round 17, I firmly believe that Geelong could win the premiership in 2022. I didn't think they could at the start of the year. I just thought they were a little bit too old, just same old Geelong, you know, they'll win all the games down at GMHBA, finish in the top levels off the ladder, and then they won't be able to beat like the Melbournes. And on the weekend, they bloody did beat Melbourne on Thursday night down at the Cattery. And I think the point of difference that Geelong have this year is just the sort of new additions / new roles that some players are playing. So guys like Sam De Koning down back, he's just come in and he already looks like he's a 200 gamer. He is unreal down there. You've also got Tyson Stengel, who they've acquired from the Samful. Just that little bit of flair up top, which Geelong were probably missing, who seems to kick goals every week. And then guys like Tom Atkins, who has started to play more midfield minutes, getting a lot of the contested ball, which is where Geelong was struggling earlier in the season. Even guys like Maxi Holmes stepping up. When you've got Jeremy Cameron and Tom Hawkins doing what they do up forward, and just the club DNA that the Geelong Cats do have, there's no reason, I don't think, right now that Geelong can't win the premiership after knocking off Melbourne on Thursday night. Massive win for Geelong. And I don't hate you, Geelong fans. Don't worry. I apologise if I offended you in recent weeks. Up the Cats. Number 2. The Swans get back to business. There was a couple lame losses in the last month or so. They lost to Port and Essendon. And the Swans are obviously pushing for a flag this year. There's no reason that they shouldn't be. So those losses were just a bit whack for the Swans. But on Friday night against the Bulldogs, they come out and just absolutely pumped the Dogs out of the gates. The game was over within the first quarter, pretty much. They were just absolutely controlling proceedings. I could talk about the Bulldogs here, but I'm trying to be less of a hater and focus on the positive, which was that the Swans were far too good. A 53-point win on their home deck, Friday night footy against last year's grand finalists, puts a massive statement out there to the rest of the comp that the Swans mean business. Isaac Heaney was unreal. It could have been a massive margin if the Swans had a kick straight, but, you know, you'll take a 53-point win any day of the week. The Dogs weren't good, and that's a whole other story, which I'll talk about more on the Drew Footy show. But for now, the Swans get back to business. Number 3. Nick Daicos is a lock for the Rising Star. He had 21 disposals and a goal this week, 37 disposals last week. I would have spoke about this last week if I did a 9 things we learned, but the quality of this 18-year-old kid is unbelievable. Cast your mind back, if you saw it, to the Gold Coast game when Nick Daicos picks up the ball, kicks it across the field to Josh Daicos, who runs in and kicks a really good goal, right? The difficulty to gather the ball cleanly below your feet, look up, locate a target, be balanced enough to execute a kick, not an accurate kick, just a kick in general, to hit Josh Daicos on the tit, right, without breaking his stride, and for him to kick a goal. Like, the degree of difficulty on that cannot be emphasized enough. The kid's skill level is so high. He's playing pretty much half-back most weeks. Pushes up the ground a bit, obviously. But he's playing that half-back role. He got drafted as a midfielder. He can obviously push up into the forward line as well and pop up for a goal, as he did against North Melbourne. So we are only scratching the surface of what we are seeing with Nick Daicos at the moment. I believe Nick Daicos could be a top 1, maybe the best player in the league one day, from the potential I've seen from this kid. His skill level, his composure, he just makes everything look so easy. The fact that he hasn't played in the midfield yet but can still have such an impact on a game from half back. Just shows that once he gets more time on the ball, he's going to be absolutely unbelievable. Nick Daicos, best pickup I've seen in the draft in many years. Number 4. The greatest win in the Suns' history. I touted the Suns to go close to making the top 8, and I think that it's sort of still on, like the door's closing and they're running for it. But after the last 2 weeks, when they lost to Port by 2 points, and then follow that up with a really narrow loss to Collingwood, it was just like, rats. Gold Coast, it's a game of fine margins, and you're just going to miss out this year. And then to come up against Richmond, who have been in such good form in the past couple of months, a much more experienced side, it was a massive win to get, especially after the last 2 weeks where they've lost so narrowly. And in that first half, it looked like Richmond were just going to walk away with it. Shai Bolton was absolutely running amok. Looked like he just had Gold Coast on his little dinner plate and he was slicing them up. No worries at all. But the fight back from Gold Coast in that second half was unreal. It obviously starts around the ball from guys like Matt Rao and Touk Miller. There was a moment where Touk Miller did an 100-metre sprint to set up a set shot in front of goal. I can't remember who kicked it, but Touk Miller's work rate is second to none. I think he's one of the best players in the league, Touk Miller. And then in the fourth quarter, Gold Coast are going all out, trying to get this win. Richmond get a counter-attack. Castagna's just running into an open goal. All he has to do is kick it through. And there's just a last-ditch effort from Ballard, who gets a finger on it as it's going through. So it's a behind. Gold Coast are still in it. And then, obviously, everyone knows what unfolded after that. Noah Anderson has a shot after the siren to upset Richmond. A massive come-from-behind win to save their season on the week that Shuey Ju re-signed to an extension on his contract as well. So it was just a massive win for the Sun. One of those moments that you just sort of always remember. Noah Anderson, Carmichael Hunt-esque on the weekend. Massive win for the Suns, and it keeps their season alive. Number 5. Freo needed to lift, and they did. It was a bit of a frustrating start as a Freo fan. As a neutral, you probably would have been like, yeah, this game's sick, goal for goal, happy days. But down back, there just seemed to be no communication. When the ball went to ground, we just couldn't deal with it. Like Dan Butler popped up for a goal, Jack Higgins got a goal. Just like little frustrating goals which could have been, dealt with. After half-time, I was thinking like, we need to come out in this second half and play the best half of football we've played all year. There is no way we can just come out against St Kilda, who beat us on our home deck, and just not show up and drop 4 points here when we need to win to stay in the top 4. And boy, oh boy, did they come out in that second half. 11 goals to 3. We started dominating out of the middle all of a sudden, which was weird because St Kilda were dominating them out of the middle in the first half, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, I suppose we just got a little bit more physical in there. Andy Brayshaw ran a half marathon just about in this game. 37 disposals, a goal as well. Absolutely unreal. 3 votes for him. Will Brodie had 2 goals out of the middle. And it was just a beautiful performance. Nat Fyfe, 3 goals, 20 disposals, getting better and better every week. So it's just a nice win to get away from home at Marvel, where we play again in 2 weeks against a side who have been playing some pretty good footy in parts this season, and just to avenge that loss earlier in the season as well. We come out pretty slow in the first half, we needed to lift, and we did to get a massive win in the end. Bring on the Swans this week. Number 6. Port's early season slump has cost them. If you looked at the ladder, you can see that Port are sort of like a game, maybe 2 wins out of the top 8. With 6 rounds still to go, you'd probably think, oh yeah, they could probably, a couple results go their way, they could still make the top 8, and maybe they can. But if you look at their run home, it's going to be very tough. So they've got Melbourne, Geelong, Collingwood, and then Richmond. And they'll probably pop up to win one of those. But if they just had won some of those really easy winnable games earlier in the season, they'd be right in the top 8 hunt right now. They'd be in there, implanted. But they lost their first 5, and ultimately that's going to cost you later on in the season, and it has. And Port, they're playing good footy at the moment. Last week against Freo, that last quarter was unreal. They still have that caliber to turn it on and play some really good stuff. It's just that quarter-to-quarter consistency, which they haven't been able to get this year. And ultimately, I think it'll cost them a top 8 spot in 2022. Number 7. Essendon are slowly starting to build. Brisbane had a lot of injuries and a lot of chops and changes to their team. But again, I'm not a hater anymore, bro. I'm enlightened. I'm going to focus on the positive in this game. And that was that Essendon got a massive dub, which keeps Brisbane a game behind Freo. So thank you to my Essendon brethren at home. The fact that they took control of the game in the second quarter, and although it was back and forth at times, they managed to hold on to get a win against a side who are a top 4 side, was an absolutely unreal result, especially coming off the back of a big win against the Swans as well. They're just chalking up these big wins, and we can talk about individual performances. You know, Peter Wright, when he's on, they usually win. He had 5 goals. Caldwell had a really solid game. Nick Hind, blah, blah, blah. You get it, right? There was good performances on the field. The point I want to make with this thing that I learned is that obviously Essendon aren't going to make finals this year. They're way too far from it. But when you start getting these like really solid wins in the back end of your year, it just allows the players to buy into the system that the coaches are trying to create at a club. So you get a few solid wins against a few good sides, finish the season really strong, and then all over the preseason, the vibe is up because the last sort of couple games that you played were good, right? So once they come into round 1 next year, if they can keep getting these good wins, if they can keep tracking the way they have in the last fortnight, Essendon will be good next year. So take these little wins, Essendon fans. I know that you're not going to play finals this year, but it's a step in the right direction for 2 weeks in a row. And you beat someone else a couple of weeks ago as well before that. I can't really remember who it was off the top of my head, but things are tracking well right now. After a really lame season, things are starting to go well again. So we don't know how long it'll be for, but just count your little wins, Essendon. Number 8. Sky is the limit for Mitch Lewis. Mitch Lewis kicked 5 goals in a half of football, and I've spoke about him quite a lot this season. As far as a key forward goes, he just ticks every box. He's good aerially, really strong, but he's good below his feet as well. He's got a high footy IQ, quite agile for a big man. And Hawthorn just have their man. He's their next Jared Roughhead, if he does decide to say. There has been quite a lot of talk about him potentially getting traded. I don't know how much truth is in that. 5 goals, he's been kicking bags, and he's a genuine top 10 key forward in the comp right now. So the sky's the limit for this young man. This Hawthorn list is growing, and he could be their man for the future. And number 9, Blues bank some percentage. Again, not going to focus on the negative, but West Coast did not score any score in the first or fourth quarter, which just allowed the Blues to run up their percentage. They lost last week, the Blues, so they must have just been thinking, right, let's go out west, get back to doing what we love doing, which is kicking a lot of goals and winning games of football. Analysis. But Kerno kicked 5, Mackay kicked 5. I think in the end, they, at that point in the fourth quarter where West Coast were obviously going to lose, Carlton was still going. They were like, boys, we need to start kicking goals, get the percentage up, and their percentage is quite high. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but in context of the ladder, the top 8 is so close right now. So to boost your percentage in a round where Brisbane lose and Richmond below you lose as well, just gives you a little bit more security. So for the Blues, you know what? Good win. You can have it. God, I hope we play the Blues in finals. Come on, let's have you for breakfast. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Blues, let's go again. Come to Optus or the MCG and we will pump you. No worries at all. But it was a good win. And that's going to wrap up the 9 things that we learnt from round 17. But before you click off the video, come back here, click that thumbs up button and subscribe by clicking that red button if you're new to the channel. I appreciate it lots. Hopefully, I'll be back more soon, is all I can say right now. Got to sort some stuff out outside of YouTube, and then we'll see where we are going. I hope it all works out. But I appreciate the person watching right now that clicked on this video. This is what I do it for. I do it for all the plonkers at home. So that's all I'll say. Keep an eye out for the Drew Footy Show tomorrow and more videos coming very soon. Until then, take care, you plonkers.